In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on K98.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing? Gene Baradelli here, and joining me via Skype right now, my good personal longtime friend, fellow attorney, and just an all-around nice guy. Don't spread that rumor around too much, though. Matt Fairley. Matt, how you doing, pal?
I am doing just great, Gene. Thank you for having me on the show tonight. Looking forward to having a scintillating conversation.
Absolutely. Now, I saw a tweet you put up before the show saying that we have released the GIMP. What exactly you mean by that, man? You talking about me again?
The GIMP. I have been gimping around Brooklyn for the past month and a half, recovering from my knee surgery, and still not entirely mobile. Me and Stairs are waging an epic battle for supremacy. So far, Stairs are winning. But hey, like they say, when you got a big problem, bring out the GIMP. Here I am.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Listen, we're glad we brought out the GIMP tonight because we're going to have sort of an adult discussion, if you will. We can't do that with Russ too much. But we're going to be having a great discussion with our good friend, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army, Van Hipp, who's going to be talking to us about the Iran deal. Of course, it's been the talk of the news today, not only because of the headlines out there talking about how Iran is laughing at us if you saw the New York Daily News, or the New York Post, or any other of a number of papers from around the country, but also because of the fireworks, Matt, at the press conference that President Obama had today, especially surrounding the questioning by Major Garrett.
President Obama got testy. He got testy. He got feisty today. He got defensive. Is what happened.
I think the official word is perturbed. Perturbed is probably good.
Yes.
Yes.
What he thought was defensive because he got like he got a question he didn't like. He didn't get the echo chamber that he's used to.
And heaven forbid that someone in his mainstream media... Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? Someone in the mainstream media actually had the temerity, the courage, the unmitigated gall to ask a question that wasn't on script.
How dare he?
How dare he indeed. Let's tell everybody what we're talking about here. Here is a clip from today's press conference with CBS's own Major Garrett. By the way, Matt, awesome name, correct?
I know. Like, honestly, he shouldn't be a reporter. He should be he should be in the army. Let's be honest. Or he should be coaching a professional football team somewhere.
So you want him to be Major Garrett? That is sad.
No. He'd have to be at least colonel.
Wow, we really did bring the game back tonight, folks. All right, back to the clip. Here's Major Garrett from CBS News questioning President Obama the way an actual reporter should. Take a listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you well know, there are 4 Americans in Iran, 3 held on trumped-up charges, according to your administration, 1 whereabouts unknown. Can you tell the country, sir, why you are content with all the fanfare around this deal to leave the conscience of this nation and the strength of this nation unaccounted for in relation to these 4 Americans? And last week, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said under no circumstances should there be any relief for Iran in terms of ballistic missiles or conventional weapons. It is perceived that that was a last-minute capitulation in these negotiations. Many in the Pentagon feel you've left the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff hung out to dry. Could you comment?
I got to give you credit, Major, for how you craft those questions. For the notion that I'm content as I celebrate with American citizens languishing in Iranian jails, Major, that's nonsense, and you should know better. I've met with the families of some of those folks. Nobody's content. And our diplomats and our teams are working diligently to try to get them out. Now, if the question is why we did not tie the negotiations to their release, think about the logic that creates. Suddenly Iran realizes, you know what, maybe we can get additional concessions out of the Americans by holding these individuals. Makes it much more difficult for us to walk away if Iran somehow thinks that a nuclear deal is dependent in some fashion on the nuclear deal. And, by the way, if we had walked away from the nuclear deal, we'd still be pushing them just as hard to get these folks out. That's why those issues are not connected. But we are working every single day to try to get them out and won't stop until they're out and rejoined with their families.
Very, very interesting. Almost an incredulous Obama. But you gotta love the ad hominem attack on Major Garrett, right, Matt?
That's just the way it goes. If you don't have an answer, attack the speaker. If you don't have anything too substantive to say, bring out the personal attack.
Oh, absolutely. And I love how he decides to answer his own question. Obama did a lot of that at this press conference. Instead of answering the questions that were asked of him, he answered his own questions.
Yeah, no, but
absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, first of all, let's be honest. Let's be honest. That is the modus operandi of a lot of politicians. That is the modus operandi of a lot of politicians out there who do not like, to have to answer a difficult question. So let's not be shocked when we hear this. Let's not be shocked by the fact that a politician didn't want to answer a question that he didn't like the answer to.
Yeah, I mean, this is a typical tactic of many politicians, but for the President of the United States unveiling a treaty deal with a nation that has a long history of not only volatility within itself, but animosity towards America. And it's a valid question that Major Garrett's asking. What happened to this part of the deal?
And it's galling mostly because, if it was anything else, it was any other subject, if he was going to try, play the Texas two-step and dodge the question and move the question to something else, I don't think anyone would really be quite so upset about it, but it has to do with the fact that it was about Americans being held hostage by a foreign power. And that is a legitimate question to be asked. That is a legitimate point of concern for the President of the United States, and it requires an answer that is more than, well, that's a clown question, bro, because that's basically what President Obama said. And you want to know what? These are Americans being held hostage, and they deserve a better answer than, well, that's a stupid question. And you know what? President Obama should be ashamed by how he answered. He should be putting forward a good answer that is respectful to the families, a good answer that is respectful to the American people, and he didn't. And he got caught by the fact that he didn't have an answer, and that is just unacceptable. And that's why this is what's galling. Because like I said, we expect politicians to have, to speak out of both sides of their mouth. But, there are a few topics where you have to be sacrosanct. And, the safety and well-being of American citizens is one of those things that the President of the United States should be keeping on the utmost top quality stack. That should be the top of the pile on to-do list.
Absolutely right. And I think what I'm more surprised about is not really the answer, but the fact that Major Garrett, well, maybe not Major Garrett, but the mainstream media was actually doing their job and asking hard questions. I don't think that there should be a respect and a buddy-buddy relationship between the media and our politicians. It should be a little antagonistic. It should be a little testy. It should be a little combative sometimes, because that's how you get to some truth, and that's where you get to some real answers, if not truth. Because truth, obviously, subjective when it comes to politics, right? But what Major Garrett did later on during a CBS broadcast is respond to those critics out there that said, well, you didn't show the president respect. You weren't nice. You could have done it differently. All the lapdog stuff of some of these journalists saying to their own tisk tisk, don't do that to our president. Major Garrett had this to say. Take a listen to this, folks.
Well, first of all, politicians, especially those elected president of the United States, are very adept at creating straw men, taking something that they feel rhetorically works to their advantage and using it. That's exactly what the president did. My question did not suggest he was content with the captivity of those 4 Americans. My question was about the contentment or the satisfaction or the realization that it was necessary within the context of this deal to leave them unaccounted for. That was the essence of the question. Clearly it struck a nerve. That was my intention. Because everyone who works for the president and the families of those 4 Americans have heard the president say he's not content, and they will work overtime to win their eventual release. That does not appear to me to be a sidelight issue in the whole context of the conversation about this Iran nuclear deal. Was it provocative? Yes. Was it intended to be as such? Absolutely.
It was meant to be provocative. It was meant to elicit a response. It was meant to get to the heart of why the administration did what they did. Matt, do you think that Major Garrett's right in that Obama was trying to create a straw man argument rather than answer a legitimate question?
Well, yeah, I think that, it just goes back to the fact that he didn't have an answer. He didn't have an answer that was acceptable, so he created the straw man. He created it as a way of deflecting attention from the fact that we just put together this really, really complex and probably very flawed deal with a potential nuclear power that hates us. And he just couldn't come up with an answer. So, yeah, he did create a straw man. And like I said before, that's just unacceptable when you're talking about American citizens. American citizens are not straw men. They're not people to be ignored, and they're not people to be shunted aside that way.
Absolutely. I don't know if it was so much a straw man as it was that Obama was just reacting to the word content. I think he took offense to the word. I think he legitimately took offense to the word, and he was attempting to chastise, and not so much change a question or turn a political spin, although that is always what politicians do. But I think he was legitimately, like we said, miffed, incredulous, perturbed, whatever you want to call it, because it wasn't something that he expected from his quote-unquote media pool.
No, and you're absolutely right. But if that's the case, you don't get miffed at it, and you don't chastise the question. You say you say, how could you say that? But you give him a chance to come back, because if you listen to Major Garrett's question, he's not saying, "Are you content that Americans are being held in Iran?" No, that's not the question he's asked, and that's what Major Garrett explained later on. He's saying, "Are you content with the fact that we came up with this deal for the nuclear weapons in Iran and left all these Americans as hostage? Are you content to celebrate that deal? And that's a very different question. And you know what? It's a legitimate question. And President Obama should have answered the question as it was, instead of trying to find a flaw that, wasn't there.
Yeah, well, I think there's also this history with Major Garrett actually asking hard questions. I remember we've talked about it on this show before, that he has an antagonistic relationship sometimes with the Obama administration. I think that's why he might be my favorite journalist on Capitol Hill, my favorite White House correspondent right now. Do you have a favorite White House correspondent, Matt?
Once Helen Thomas retired, all the
I knew it.
beauty was taken out of the press room.
I knew it. It's those Saturday Night Live skits, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, folks, we're waiting for Van Hip to call in. He should be calling in any minute now. Van, a good friend of the show. Van will actually be tonight setting the record for most return visits to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. We didn't get him a steak knife set or nothing like that. We're going to bring it up during the show and give him a mighty cyber pat on the back, probably. That'll be the extent of it. But Van's going to be a wealth of knowledge talking about this deal, talking about it in the context of foreign affairs, in the context of our defensive readiness, and what exactly we can expect over the next couple of years in dealing with what may well be an emerging nuclear power in the Middle East, in Iran. And, Matt, I'm excited to talk to him, but I'm also excited when we're done talking to him, talking to amongst ourselves about what we each think of the deal. Because, rumor has it you're a bit of a rhino sometimes, pal. Just saying.
It has been said, although I don't know, I laid out a pretty good argument as to why I'm not. You can check that out at BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. A wonderful
The man
website.
knows how to plug. Yes, plug it, Matt.
Yes, that is full of detailed and wonderful blog postings about excellent political topics that will edify you and delight you.
Word of the night, folks, is edify. Matt Fairley always brings the knowledge.
Just because I got to do something to distinguish myself from Russ. I can't bring the hate like he does, so I'm just going to bring the big SAT words.
Yes, and indeed, you too can be Matt Fairley if you study hard and hurt your knee. While we're waiting for him, let's get one more clip out here. And we talked about this before the show, Matt, as well, about how other reporters actually came to Major Garrett's defense on their own shows. So let's listen to this clip from CNN talking about what it was like to be in the room when Major Garrett asked his question to President Obama and that tension built. Take a listen to this.
Well, he can get testy at times, and clearly this question got under his skin, and I don't think slamming reporters is going to solve any problems for the president. It clearly shows that there's a weakness in this deal in the fact that he was not able to secure the release of those Americans who were being detained in Iran, and it's going to continue to be a pressure point for this president, for his detractors up on Capitol Hill. But John, it was interesting to watch this news conference unfold. At the very end there, you said, well, maybe it looked like the president was answering his own questions. As a matter of fact, he was taking questions from people in the room, including one from me, but we didn't have the chance to grab the mic. We were just shouting questions at him, and he was answering those questions. So he was really relishing this opportunity to fire back at his critics, and you could tell that a lot of this has been welling up in him for some time, and I think that pressure valve was released when Major asked that question. I don't think it was an unfair question from Major, by the way. I think it was on a very important topic, and the president chose to use that opportunity to slam Major, but really it's not going to put that issue to rest, John.
It's not going to put the issue to rest, and the reporters perceive it as a major point of weakness when it comes to this Iran deal, Matt.
Yeah, that is maybe the most damning clip that we can play here, in that, this wasn't Fox News coming out and saying, oh, how dare he say that about Major Garrett, how dare he not do that. This is CNN. This is like the heart of the quote-unquote mainstream media, the heart of, what is, considered the quote-unquote the lamestream media. And when they're looking at you and saying that was the wrong response, and B, that was a horrible weakness in the deal, that's pretty much all you need to hear right there. When you've lost CNN and you're the Democratic president, then maybe there's a real problem there. Maybe you should be paying a little bit more attention to what you say and how you say it.
Absolutely correct. There was another clip of Dana Bash saying that Major Garrett kind of broke protocol a little bit. Protocol be damned, I think that when you want answers, and far be it from me to steal a line from Michael J. Fox from The American President, But it is not only our duty to question our president, it's our responsibility. And I think Major Garrett takes that a little seriously when it comes to a deal as significant as what this Iran deal is going to be, especially for the years beyond the Obama presidency, when the next president, Republican, will be dealing with what hath been wrought.
That's why we have to take such a scrutinizing eye to this deal. You know, it's a 10-year term. This is not going to just outlive Obama's presidency. It's going to outlive his successor's presidency, even if his successor gets 2 terms. You know, so he is binding, he is binding the next president, so to speak. And that is why we got to look at this and say, what is in here before we commit for so long? And that is why we have to be extra critical. That is why we have to really look at this and say, what is the deal here because of the length and because of how long it's to keep us bound up there. That is why it's our duty to go into details here.
Absolutely. And when we talk about duty and going into details, that's what John Boehner was talking about at his press conference earlier, I believe it was this week, talking about what this deal holds and what it doesn't hold. And far be it for me to criticize my own party and break the 11th commandment here, but it seems like a lot of the same old from the Republican congressional leadership. Take a listen to this, folks. John Boehner on the Iran deal.
At the outset of the Iran negotiations, the Obama administration said that a good deal would affirm that Iran does not have the right to enrich. They also said that keeping sanctions in place until Iran met concrete, verifiable standards. And they believed that they had to stop Iran's drive for a nuclear bomb. Listen, the president has abandoned all of those goals, and that's why the deal that we have out there, in my view, from what I know of it thus far, is unacceptable. It's going to hand a dangerous regime billions of dollars in sanctions relief while paving the way for a nuclear Iran. And this isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It's not a partisan issue at all. It's about right versus wrong. And we're going to do everything we can to get to the details. And if, in fact, it's as bad a deal as I think it is at this moment, we'll do everything we can to stop it.
But, gee, I kind of heard this before, Matt.
Yeah, we it's become like the bad music that you plays in the background of the dentist's office. You hear it so often, it just becomes painful.
Oh, absolutely. But it's just, we don't know exactly everything that's in Obamacare, but we're going to stop it. We've passed Obamacare, but we're going to do everything we can to repeal it. We're against amnesty until we're for it, and we're going to do everything we can to stop those Democrats. Come on already. Enough is enough here, Boehner.
Tell us how you're going to stop it. Don't tell us that you're going to. Tell us what you're going to do. Tell us what in the treaty you specifically object to, why, and what you're going to do to stop it using your power as the, constitutionally second most powerful person in the United States. Tell us what you're going to do here. Stop just telling us that you're going to do something. We don't believe you anymore.
Anytime I talk about Congress or the Senate or anything dealing with our legislature at the federal level, I'm just sick of it already, man. We elected them to do a job, and for those of you who believe that the 2014 election was going to bring about some great change, come on, guys. Those that say that the politics in America, the parties are the two sides of the same coin, they got it pretty much nailed, because you vote in one, nothing really changes. You vote them out, you vote in someone else, nothing really changes. For those of you who were actually thinking that you were going to see something, sorry, guys, it's going to be more and more of the same.
This just goes back even further. I mean, the problem is in 2012 we lost the presidency. And that's the deal. I mean, you read the Constitution, the President of the United States conducts our foreign policy. And that's the way it works. He's the one that recognizes foreign countries, and that's why nothing can be done to stop, reopening an embassy in Cuba. He is the one that conducts foreign policy with other countries. So we are stuck with the fact that, this is the foreign policy we're going to get, because no one else can do anything about it. And, we didn't win that election. Now we have to live with the consequences. And that is the real problem here, in that we don't see the long-term repercussions of what comes from the election. We look at it and say, oh, I need a job next month, not, will I have a job in 4 years? things are going okay overseas, not, are things going to go okay overseas for 5 years or 10 years? And we're not seeing the long-term implications here, and now we've got to live with that.
We have to live with it, but the long-term implications, meanwhile, for these 4 people being held in Iran is that nothing has changed. And that is not sitting well with obviously with a lot of people. And it seems to me, Matt, and maybe I'm throwing on the Russ Gallo conspiracy hat here, but it seems to me that the Obama administration is taking a tact regarding hostage situations that is steering away from the traditional American model of no negotiation for hostages at all. I think we saw that with the Bergdahl situation, and I think we're seeing it now when it comes to this Iran deal. Maybe Obama's thinking that he can negotiate some sort of other deal to get these hostages out, and meanwhile cement his legacy with this nuclear deal. Do you think that this conspiracy theory holds any water whatsoever?
I could take your conspiracy theory up one notch. Surprised to find
before
out.
You do, sir, on the line, coming on right now. Thank goodness he got my messages, I think. Van Hip. Van, you on the line with us?
I am. How you doing?
Good. Listen, you're on with Gene and Matt Fairley. Let's get into this deal right now. We've been talking back and forth, obviously, the fireworks with Major Garrett at the press conference and everything, and that's really, the popcorn stuff. What is the biggest flaw, as you see it, Van, with regards to the Iran deal?
Well, where do you start? I tell you, the one thing I couldn't believe is that they let them actually continue with their development of intercontinental ballistic missiles. And this is a really big problem. I've looked for years at the link between Iran and North Korea on their intercontinental ballistic missile technology program. Gene, here's the problem with these intercontinental ballistic missiles. Right now, and I actually write about this in my book, The New Terrorism: How to Fight It and Defeat It. We have no land-based missile defense capability on the entire east coast of the United States. So when you combine that with the fact that we have no land-based missile defense capability on the entire east coast of the United States, and now we're going to let this terrorist regime continue with their ICBM technology and further development. I mean, it's like putting a gun in your head. I mean, I cannot believe. I mean, I think I'm in a dream, a bad nightmare, or watching a bad movie. But this really endangers the national security of this country.
What do you think, looking at this deal, and obviously the President and Secretary Kerry misguidedly think it's a good one, what is it about the deal that you think they are grasping at to try and put this together? Why do you think that they would enter into this deal in the first place, given the flaws within it, with like you said about the missile shield and the various different ways that they can hide, they still get to enrich uranium and those type of things? What is it that someone could look at it and say, wow, I could go for this?
It's very tough to find much logic at all. It's about, his legacy. He thinks he's doing something to further his legacy piece. Roll that film back. Go back to 1938 with Neville Chamberlain. This is much like the same kind of misguided foreign policy of Neville Chamberlain. I say that we tonight live in a world that so desperately needs another Winston Churchill, but unfortunately we're being overrun with Neville Chamberlain. There was one big difference though. When Neville Chamberlain did his deal with Hitler and the Nazi regime, they didn't have at that time access to a nuclear capability. This is like Neville Chamberlain cutting a deal with the Nazis and Adolf Hitler, but this time the bad guys have got access to a nuclear technology. And actually, in this agreement, there's a provision where they actually let them continue with heavy water activities. Heavy water activities, that's how you make a nuclear weapon. Do you remember the movie with Kirk Douglas? I'm dating myself a little bit here, The Heroes of Telemark, where in World War II, the Norwegians were had one of the best resistance movements against the Nazis, and they had the Nazi occupation began in 1940 in Norway, and they had a heavy water production facility in Telemark, Norway, and the Norwegians would literally blow up their own people to keep Hitler from getting that. But here we're going to let them also continue with a heavy water activity too. I mean, this is, it's a very sad time, I think, to be an American. I feel like we're watching the destruction of our security, and someone has just given away the security of this country, and we were holding all the cards.
Yeah, we're on the line with Van Hipp, author of The New Terrorism. A great book, by the way, and I just want to interrupt the interview just to let everybody know that proceeds from that book will go to the Van Hipp, what's the Fallen Heroes Foundation, right?
Actually, 100% of all the proceeds are going for scholarships for the children of fallen National Guardsmen. And the great thing about it, the National Guard Education Foundation is they're actually going to administer all the scholarships without taking one dime of administrative fees or cost.
That's absolutely fantastic. Got a question from our chat room that we have going live here during the interview, Van. One of our listeners wants to know if this is the start of a possible nuclear arms race in the Middle East, given this deal.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think the nuclear arms race has already been going on. I think this is going to continue it. And I think, too, it's, there has been a very real link, and I keep going back to this. When you talk about Iran, you've got to talk about Iran and the North Korean regime together, because they've been in bed together since the 1980s, sharing that missile technology, and yes, sharing that nuclear technology. I point out in my book, and I was actually the first person in this country in 2012 to use open source intelligence, and I went on Bill Hemmer on Fox to reveal that the Iranians were on the ground in North Korea back in 2012 for their nuclear test and their missile test. And so there's a very real link between the two. I think you're going to see that. I mean, you're going to see more and more activity now, I think, between the North Koreans and the Iranians as well. So it's again, I can't believe that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. And then, like I said earlier, when you combine that with the fact that we have no land-based missile defense capability on the East Coast, it's like somebody has a death wish.
So to take this back a bit, going back to your experience working in the Reagan administration, when we went through the arms deals with the Soviets, SALT, START, we had, if not an analogous regime, we had two regimes that didn't get along, had confronted each other militarily, and yet we were able to work out a deal, and we were able to do so under President Reagan's very famous statement of trust but verify. How is it different here, and what is it different here that aphorism of trust but verify is seemingly harder to accept with Iran than it was with the Soviets back when we did these kind of programs in the 1980s?
Well, there's really no verification. We can't go to one of their military facilities. We can't go and have an unannounced inspection on the military facilities. There's a whole process you've got to go through. And it's like, may I please go to your military facility sometime in the future after you've had a chance to do whatever you want to hide things and move things and everything else. I mean, this is really a joke. And so... and Reagan always, he negotiated from a position of strength. And here's what's sad. We had a position of strength. The sanctions were working. But we just give them everything. And it was obvious, it was so obvious. The Iranians knew that this president would give them anything they wanted just so you could get a deal. And it is unbelievable how we've given away this country and our security. And I hope and pray that there are enough what I call old Scoop Jackson Democrats to at least join the Republicans and look at this for the good of the country in a bipartisan manner to hopefully somehow get enough votes so that they can't override it. I doubt it, but I've got to be at least hopeful.
Well, I'm sure we all have to be hopeful at this point. Another question from our chat room concerns Israel. and I guess the total disregard and lack of respect that going forward with this deal shows to our strongest and only real ally in the Middle East. Based on what you know of the deal, did the administration consult at all with Israel that you are aware of?
Not that I've heard anything about. I mean, in fact, I think this president has shown nothing but disdain for Israel, and again, there's a great ally that's always stood by this country. What do? We throw them under a bus, and we cut a deal with a terrorist regime. I got to say too, another ally in that part of the world, the country of Jordan, King Abdullah, someone I've known since. Almost 20 years now, going back to when he commanded the Jordanian Special Forces. He's the real deal. And let's go back just a few months ago, how we treated King Abdullah. King Abdullah is trying to take the fight to radical Islam. He's trying to take the fight to ISIS. He came to the United States just a few months ago to complain that our State Department, throwing up our good old State Department, here we go again, throwing up roadblocks, and bureaucratic roadblocks, not letting him get the things that he needs to take the fight to radical Islam. My God, you got a guy who is a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. He's a reformed Muslim. Who better to take the fight to radical Islam than somebody like that? And he said, look, this is a chance for Jews and Christians and Muslims to come together. Let me go after these people. And again, we won't give him what he needs. We throw Netanyahu and the Israelis under a bus. And Lord, did you see now that the Saudis have now come forth? When have you ever seen the Saudis more pro-Israel? I mean, the Saudis get it. I mean, maybe one of the good things coming out of this is bringing the Arabs and the Jews together in that part of the world.
Quite possibly. Last question, Van, and then, we got to do all the plugs for you because we want everybody to buy your book, The New Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It, which is available on Amazon and in finer bookstores across this nation. Van, is there anything that the next presidential administration can do to undo what has been done this week?
I really don't know. I certainly hope so, and I believe that 2016 will be the most important election of our lifetime. It's a miracle, I think, that this country has survived the last 6.5 years of this foolishness. I think it's a testament to the resiliency of the American people that we have, but I really believe 2016 will be the last chance to take back this country, to save this country. And here's a key point. The reason the states came together, the reason we have a federal government, is to provide for the common defense of the American people. That's first and foremost why we have a federal government. And what we need right now is a commander-in-chief who will keep us safe so that we can remain free.
Absolutely. Van, thanks so much for coming on. By the way, you are now officially the most returnable guest in the history of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. The people want to hear what you have to say more than anybody else, pal. And why wouldn't they when we're talking to a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Army from the Reagan administration and the chairman of American Defense International, and the accolades, my goodness, and author, of course, of The New Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It, as we said, on Amazon, in bookstores. And by the way, folks, as we said earlier, all of Van's proceeds from the book, 100% of them from The New Terrorism, goes to the National Guard Educational Foundation to fund scholarships for children of fallen guardsmen. Definitely go check out www.thenewterrorism.com, and of course follow our friend Van Hip at Van Hip with 2 P's. I think I got them all, pal. It's always great to talk to you, and next time I'm down in D.C. or when we're in some area together, we gotta get a drink sometime, pal.
I'm counting on it. Look forward to it. And thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Van. We will talk to you soon. Folks, we're going to take a quick break right now, and when we come back, we're going to bring it back to some issues back here at home when it comes to the 2016 election. Gene and Matt, Behind Enemy Lines, will be back right after this brief word.
So what is Behind Enemy Lines anyway?
This is the true story of two friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito, and we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show.
Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show, and check out our blog posts and articles at vitoandvito.com.
Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save
your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene and Matt, back behind the main lines, and I just want to thank again my good friend Van Hip. You know, I know how radio hosts always say my good friend so-and-so and whatever. Van really is a very good friend of the show and a very good friend to me, Russ, and the gang. After every interview we do with him, we always would open up some bottle of choice and just hang out and talk for a little bit. Van's a great guy. I'm so glad he came onto the show. But I gotta say, Matt, Van was... he was down, man. He was really, really pessimistic when it came to this deal.
I don't think pessimistic is the correct word here. He was downright fatalistic when it comes to the deal. You know, pessimistic means, well, you know, I think it's going to fail. This guy is pretty much saying it's guaranteed to fail.
Well, you know, how about you weigh in on this now? Because listen, you got an international studies degree, right?
I have an international.
You can weigh in with everybody.
That's true. I don't use it.
Hey,
but I did get that.
It's a degree well spent, I gotta say.
Yeah, it was money well spent. Very, very well spent.
Let's talk about the deal amongst it. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of it all. Do you agree with me in saying that the Obama administration achieved approximately 0% of the stated goals that they wanted for this deal?
You know, I could put on my lawyer hat and say, well, you know, that's a matter of perspective. At the end of the day, they can claim that Iran will not build a bomb for 10 years, and that's 10 years that they can use to try and influence Iran away from thinking they need the bomb, trying to influence Iran away from, you know, being antagonistic, trying to reintegrate Iran into the family of nations through the use of, you know, better economic relations, better diplomatic relations. And you know, and if we could look at Iran and say, okay, that's a country that we can trust, that's a regime we can trust, you know, we could look at that as a win. That's the real problem there. You know, Van alluded to it, is that the real problem with this deal isn't any of the technical measures. You know, if you look through the technical measures, they're actually very, very sound if you can trust Iran to abide by them. And I don't know that we can. And that is where the fatalism is coming from here. You know, if you look at the technical details, it's a good deal. But the question is, you know, a good deal with a liar, you know, what did we actually get there?
Right. A good deal on paper if we were dealing with a nation that was a good faith bargainer, let's say. But when you look at, you know, what came out of Geneva, to me, international sponsorship of R&D for the Iranian nuclear program, sanctions basically shredded, if you really think about it here. U.S. sanctions are basically gone at this point. There's no more arms embargo. That was taken off the table. Inspections have to happen with notice. I mean, if you were a person who dealt in bad faith, wouldn't you love it if someone had to give you, 48 hours notice before they came over? I mean, for Christ's sakes, tenants in New York City get less notice for when a landlord comes over than Iran is getting for checking if they're building a nuclear bomb.
And that's like, it's almost like we're going to have a circular discussion on this, because you could look at every provision in that deal. Yes, okay, they have to deactivate a certain number of centrifuges. That is based on the centrifuges that they have told us. Okay, well, what's the guarantee that we know about them all? They have to turn over a certain percentage of the enriched uranium that they already have to be sold on the open market or whatever. However, that is, again, trusting and assuming that we know of all the enriched uranium that they have. And it just keeps getting back to this circular argument of, can we trust the Iranians? And basically everything that they have shown us since 1979 in the Islamic Revolution is no, we cannot.
Oh, I agree with you totally, and I think the bottom line on this deal, you brought up, comparisons to the Soviets in the 80s. I think the more apt comparison is the Clinton administration and the deal that was made with North Korea. I mean, we heard the same rhetoric. This is a good deal. We're stopping them from getting a nuclear weapon. This, that, and the other. And who remembers Team America World Police making fun of Hans Blitz going to North Korea all the time to inspect and finding nothing? He couldn't find a nuclear bomb with two hands and a flashlight.
And that's the problem here. That is the better one here, and it highlights what Van was saying, is that it's a different in leadership. When we did the Soviet deals, we had a stronger, more forceful personality in the president's chair, and we were dealing with a much better known. Even if they were our enemy, they were a much better known, and they were much more internationally connected. Connected within the rule of international law than this regime was. The North Korea deal is the best analogy, because the terms are almost identical. If you look at them, the terms are almost identical. The same kind of, we have to give you notice before inspections, you can keep a certain number of centrifuges, all the same deals. And at the end of the day, now North Korea, a country run by a literal madman, has nuclear weapons and has missiles that, can point not only at the United States, but also at our allies. And
at his uncle, apparently.
Deja vu all over again.
Yeah, it definitely feels like deja vu all over again. I think it's a good place to leave this discussion. Matt, it's that time of the show again. It's probably your favorite time of the show, where we give equal time to our good friend, the Reverend Al. And I know that when it comes to the Reverend Al, there's no one better to speak and introduce him than the inventor of the Sharpton scale of buffoonery, Matt Fairley. Take it away, pal.
I feel like I can't live up to that introduction, because, there's only so much that left can be said about the Reverend Al when it comes to his buffoonery, because he is the buffoon, the ultimate buffoon, the one against all buffoons will be measured going forward in the future. You sit and listen to him and get a master class of what buffoonery actually is, so that later on you can go out and you can identify buffoonery and confront it and kill it. So please, take a listen to the good Reverend.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
But resist we much. We must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race, then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono, Fran Drescher, Sigourney Weaver, suspect Jahar Tsarnaev, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh. The show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday, Antonin Scalia, Kim Kardashian, and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi. We rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Spain is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency. And what sequestration has done.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
We all know I've had my share of prompter issues. And here's the president meeting with a cola cue. Republican Republicans, Grinches, launching fistful of coal. Copies of the new issue of Charlie Hebdo. He also goes by the name Michael Zihabiba. 26-year-old Nina. Phone. Ray Romano. Honor David Letterman. He died of accidental asphyma. Al-Qaeda in Yemen. The start of school has been postponed several times. Massive manhood is underway. Who spoke at a white supremacist convention. You look at the hand you dealt with, there are not 60 Republicans after a historic when you hear of ISIS now waterboating. I'm all over the map on immigration. Did the New England Patriots cheat to get into the big game? NFL analyst and Hall of Fame player Troy Aikens, the writer slamming President Obama for talking with YouTube celebrities. What's the latest tonight in Iowa?
Well, in Ottawa.
And all we can get is an internet show? Let's get back to it.
You'll remember where you were when you heard that Reverend Al clip, folks. It is awesome. Gene and Matt, back behind enemy lines. And, Matt, time to bring it back home a little bit. Of course, the latest candidate to announce their run for the presidency on the Republican ticket, Scott Walker.
Wait. Let me see if I can guess who threw their hat into the ring. Was it Chuck Norris?
Oh, that would have been awesome, but no.
Was it Bozo the Clown?
Is he even still alive?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Donald Trump's already running.
Oh, come on.
Was it Scott Walker?
Yeah, I think I said it before. You must have missed it. But yeah, Scott Walker, Wisconsin governor. The man who, I guess you could say, is probably the most battle-tested candidate in the race now. He says he's all in.
He certainly has faced a number of elections. He certainly has won a number of elections. He is now running in there, and he has vaulted to, if not the top of the list, among the top tier of candidates just by virtue of finally making it official after teasing us for most of the year.
Yeah, and I got into a discussion earlier today with a colleague in my law office, talking about, obviously Walker is going to be in the top 10 candidates in the debate that's going to be coming up. Is that really fair that he just announces now that he was within the polling, even though he wasn't a candidate, so he's in now that he's just declared? Is that fair to the Carly Fiorinas and, to some extent the George Patakis of the world who can't get on stage even though they've been on the campaign trail for a couple months now? Or is that just a sign that they're just not good enough?
I don't want to get into the word fair with politics. Politics is cutthroat. Politics is win or die. The world isn't fair. I thought we were Republicans, not Democrats. Democrats talk about what's fair. Republicans talk about what's right. So, listen, he has a high poll number. It is reflective of the fact that he has a lot of very good conservative positions, that he has a excellent record as a governor. And you know what? That's his. It's not like anyone handed that to him. He went out and he earned it. He earned those election victories. He fought those battles. He won those fights against the public sector unions. And, hey, he earned that spot at the top of the poll. So I think it's perfectly fair because it's not like something was handed to him.
All right, well, let's get into the pros and cons of Scott Walker right now. Pro, obviously we said he's battle-tested. Another pro, as you mentioned, he does have some bona fide, and I do mean bona fide, conservative credentials when it comes to labor issues, especially when dealing with public sector unions in the state of Wisconsin. Big plus, I'm sure. He's going to be unions' public enemy number one, and I think that's a pretty good thing, and that's something Republicans can get behind. Agree to disagree?
I definitely agree. You and I have actually talked about this before. The last time I guest hosted with you a year ago about the fact that public sector unions are really getting out of hand in America, and that they're really getting to a place where they are starting to become real horrible drains on public coffers and public finances, and the fact that he's being able to take it on, and he's being able to in a very, very liberal state, being able to take them on speaks to his resolve and speaks to his ability to put the public good ahead of political expediency, and that is a real check mark in his favor.
Another check mark in his favor that Thomas in our chat room brings up is that he knows how to navigate a leftist media, like you said, dealing with all the issues with the recall election that he had and his re-election campaign. Dealing with a leftist media is going to be very important when it comes into this race. And I'll add on top of that another plus. The man's been vetted over and over again. There's going to be nothing popping out about Scott Walker, no pun intended. So far, the biggest thing they found on him is that he didn't go to college. And really, that if that's all you're going to have, I mean, it's like Marco Rubio's parking tickets and speeding tickets all over again.
I mean, Gene, between the two of us, we probably have, we have 4 degrees between the two of us. And obviously, I would not say that makes us any more qualified than Scott Walker. It's not about, the fancy degrees on your wall. It's about what you've done. It's about what you have accomplished. And that's the way it works in America. And, maybe he dropped out of Marquette, a little early, but it's not like he dropped out to be a bum. He dropped out to get a job and get to work.
All right, well, listen, we hit on a lot of positives. How about a negative? There's a story that's circulating around saying that Scott Walker is pro-pathway to citizenship, pro-amnesty. That's not going to sit well with a lot of people.
No, it's not. And it's become a very hot-button issue. You and I could go on and on about the definition of what is amnesty, and that really is such a third rail position in Republican politics now that he's going to have to really, really, really thread the needle well on that issue if he's going to get past it. Which brings me up to probably another con for him. Man, he is not the most charismatic person on the stump. He really, really has a hard time communicating issues. And the fact that he has a few, marginal issues with Republicans, if he doesn't communicate them well, that could be a real problem for him going forward.
That's definitely true. And there's also concern that his team may not be playing the conservative cards so much, because there was a story that came out that his one of his advisors, a man by the name of Tim Alberta, was trying to calm down some fears that Walker was going to go too far right. And Alberta said, and this is a quote, "You start in Iowa and lock up conservatives, because if you don't do that, none of the rest matters. It's much easier to move from being conservative to being a middle-of-the-road moderate later on." So this raises the question, does Walker see himself as a conservative, or is he playing one on TV?
I think he actually sees himself as a conservative. He's a very, very, I don't want to say driven. He's very, very steady. He's a very, very steady candidate. He's a very, very steady politician, and he's very, very steady in what he wants to accomplish. I think the reason that people are asking is he a conservative, or is he a conservative trying to, or is he a moderate trying to drape himself in conservative colors, goes back to his communication issue. But I do think he's an actual conservative who is putting forth conservative points. And the question is, is he going to keep tripping over himself trying to define those things?
All right, well, let me ask you this now. Final question. We're going to keep it really short because we're getting low on time. Where does Scott Walker rank on the Fairley scale of candidates? Is he in the top 5, the middle 5, or the bottom 5?
He's definitely in the top 5. He's definitely in the top 5. He's a very accomplished governor. He's got a lot of really good, straightforward positions. He's shown that he can he can raise money, which, as much as we hate to use that as a measuring stick, unfortunately it is. But I think he's definitely in the top 5, probably in the top 3.
All right, there you have it. We're running short on time this week, so unfortunately we're not going to do any Buffoon of the Week. But just so you guys know, the winner from last week's contest is, and drum roll please if you can, Eric Holden, that was the guy that was talking about the need for culturally diverse mascots on Access.com. That dude is a total buffoon. We're going to play the music right now. Here it goes. All right, Matt, you get the final thought since you're a guest on the show. By the way, before you give your final thought, plug yourself on Twitter. Make sure you get lots and lots of followers. Everybody's got to follow Matt Fairley, folks. Not only is he one of the wittiest people I know, he's got a brain, and it's kind of cool. Matt, tell them how to get you on Twitter.
Thank you all. Thank you. First of all, Gene, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate being here. I always have a lot of fun. You can follow me on Twitter at FairleyM1999. That's FairleyM1999. I should find one that's easier to spell and remember, but nah. Thanks for having me. And I think, if I have to have a final thought is, to get back to the beginning of what we had to say, listen, ask questions. Come at the people. Come at the leaders, and don't ever let a leader shut you down because he doesn't like the question that you asked.
And there you have it. My final thought, I'm going to skew off topic real quick. For those of you who have been paying attention to the news this week, Planned Parenthood, there's a video circling out there about how Planned Parenthood may be selling baby parts. I think everybody said everything that needs to be said about this. If true, shocking, monstrous, ghastly, shocks the conscience like you wouldn't believe, of course. And I hope that the candidates are watching, and I hope the candidates get to the bottom of it. But I also hope that the candidates don't make too big of a deal of it and overplay their hand. The social conservatives will be with you no matter what, candidates, in my opinion. Definitely talk about this. It's an important issue, but let's keep it in perspective as we go forward on the road to 2016. We're going to wrap things up here. Matt, we going to shut this sucker down or what?
Gene, shut it down.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Good night, and God bless.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.
The leader in talk radio on the internet. Right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.